Okay, so I like to identify some of the components of the gait cycle. And we could see somebody walking here, and it's very hard to see at a fast pace. So if I bring this back a little bit, and let's see if we can identify from here. We'll go right there. I'm going to move the video up here. And let's see. So the first part of the stance phase is the heel strike or initial contact, which is happening right there. And in that phase, you can see that the ankle is held into a neutral dorsiflex position. The knee is held into extension, and the hip is held into anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees of hip flexion. Okay, so there's our initial contact. From initial contact, we get the loading response, which is there, the foot going down. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here is, watch here. Watch as the foot goes down. Don't watch the foot. Look at the knee. See the knee? As the foot starts to load down, look at that foot. The knee has to go into flexion. As the foot goes down, the knee goes into a degree of flexion. And we can see here that if that were the femur, I'm a little off there, but good enough. And here was the tibia, we could see there's definitely a change in direction in those lines. That loading response, the foot going down to the ground, is controlled by an eccentric contraction of those pretibial muscles, allowing that foot to go down very smoothly. Now, from there, from the loading response, we are going to move now into mid stance, which is all the way through there. And again, what I want you to take note of is look at the knee. We're in a degree of flexion there, about 15 degrees, and then we're going to go right up into full knee extension. So again, in order to get to this mid stance, it's going to require that my hip extensors work concentrically, my quads work concentrically, and then I'm starting to get an eccentric contraction of these plantar flexors, because as we go into mid stance or start coming out of mid stance, note the tibia. The tibia starts to tilt forward. Boom, there's heel off or terminal swing. And if we look at that, we can clearly see that this is different than that line. I drew a horizontal there. So you can clearly see the tibia is being migrated anteriorly, and that's controlled by the eccentric contraction of the plantar flexors, controlling that tibia from falling too far forward. We also see that the ankle is in a good amount of dorsiflexion at this time. And if I can do maybe this and say, I'll bring that up a little bit, and if I can drop that, we can see, so about 80 degrees that says, so that's 10 degrees off from a right angle. So giving us a slight indication that there is dorsiflexion happening there. So then we move from the terminal stance into what we call toe off or pre-swing. Now, this component here going from heel off to toe off is now a result of the plantar flexors once again changing from an eccentric contraction to now a concentric contraction to push the foot into plantar flexion, so we get push off. As the cycle continues, the toes will begin to leave the floor or the ground, which creates a concentric contraction of the hamstrings to flex that knee. And then we start to get a concentric contraction of these pretibial muscles to begin to start to dorsiflex the ankle here so that the toes may clear. And notice these toes here as they are beginning to clear the ground here. So you can see right from here we go into extension of the toes, and they stay extended as the foot begins to go into dorsiflexion. So right there you can see that's a good shot right there, seeing that amount of dorsiflexion happening as an attempt to clear the floor. And so we go through the toe off, and then the whole stance cycle will begin again as the limb starts to decelerate by an eccentric contraction here once again of the hamstrings, slowing the limb down, and we go right back into a heel strike, and the gait stance phase of the gait cycle begins all over again. So if we looked at that in fast pace, it won't be so easy to spot, although if you watch closely, a trained eye can watch those components.